Hi, we're going on an Easter egg hunt. We're starting to wrap up this series, but we're looking at some Easter eggs, some hidden gems, some goodies, if you will, that are part of the Easter story. Now, there's nothing that is cheery about the narrative that gets you to the tomb. And you all know that if you are familiar with the story. But there are some Easter eggs that when you hear what they mean, enhance the story in a lot of ways and remind us of the incredible love and the power and the plan that God is unfolding. And so while Easter is a defining moment in history and is great news for all of us, getting there is a tough, tragic, heartbreaking story, why it's called the Passion, if you will. We go back once again to the moment that Jesus is arrested in Gethsemane. Jesus tells them that he has at his disposal in that moment 12 legions, at least 12 legions of angels. In the series, I asked the question, why did he say that? Isn't that specific? Isn't that a lot of information? And so to understand what Jesus was saying, which those that night would have understood, for those who were reading this story in those early days after it took place, they would understand. But for us sitting here today, we don't have a complete picture of what Jesus is saying, the details of it. Details do matter. Jesus said this for a reason. We can only speculate completely at the reason, and certainly the default answer is he was letting them know that he had enough power to stop what was happening if he wanted to. In other words, Jesus was letting this happen. They're not coming to take him. Jesus is still in control. But he does throw this number, at least 12 legions of angels. Legion is a military word. It means a minimum of 6,000 soldiers. In this case, then, for Jesus, a legion would have been at least 6,000 angels. But Jesus said specifically more than 12 legions. How many more than 12 legions? We don't know. But if you were to take 12 legions of angels, that's 6,000 in a legion. That is a minimum of 72,000 angels. So in understanding that Jesus is now making a declaration that there are at least 72,000 angels right now that are available to me, why would he say that? Well, Isaiah 37, verse 36, tells us that on one single night, an angel obliterated 185,000 men in one night. One angel. So if that one angel can do that, it begs the question, what would the combined strength of 12 legions of angels be? Well, if one angel killed 185,000 men in one night, then 6,000 angels, a legion, would destroy 1,110,000,000 men in one night. That's one legion, but Jesus said 12. And so multiply that by 12, the 72,000 angels. The combined strength of that number alone would have eliminated in one night 13,320,000,000 men. That's a lot. But that's not just a lot. That's everyone. Because currently, when we're recording this, the world population is a little over 8 billion people right now living in the world. So the Easter egg that we're pulling out of this is a reminder that even as Jesus was facing death, he did say to them and remind them that they weren't taking him. He was allowing himself to be taken because he had enough power at his disposal to call enough angels to eliminate all of humanity. That's what that phrase lets us know. In other words, Jesus has the power to eliminate all of humanity, but instead he's making a choice to save all of humanity. It is a very revealing moment that sometimes we've read and we don't pay any attention to, because the vividness of that moment, the description of that moment, the power of that moment, the numbers alone of that moment tell us how big this sacrifice really is. And so having a choice, Jesus could have chosen to destroy all of mankind, but instead gave his life to save all of mankind. Huge Easter egg, huge moment. And what many read past so quickly, it almost becomes a throwaway statement. My advice to you is nothing that happens in this story is a throwaway. Nothing that happens in the events surrounding the death and resurrection of Jesus is a throwaway. It all matters. The details count. And the details help us appreciate the story and the love and forgiveness of Jesus even more. We'll continue our egg hunt in our next episode.